and use the raise hand function, and we will call on you. And as a reminder, please announce who you are and the outlet you are with, so we can so Alejandro can get to know you. And Aditi, you're getting no questions. Just so you know, we're going to start off like that. All right, we'll start it off here with Jameson.
Hey, Alejandro, thank you for doing this. As you know, going from the Steelers to the Ravens doesn't happen with a lot of players. How is your feeling going to kind of the arch rival of the Steelers? And have you heard any feedback from Steeler fans since doing so?
So I think my focus is on the transition of learning a new playbook. That's where my attention is right now. It's obviously a very different playbook, different plays, new position. So my head right now is in learning and getting to know my teammates, the coaches, the lingo. I've heard from my teammates back in Pittsburgh, keep really good relationship with them, but not from the fans. I have very little communication with the outside world, and so it's a little tough for me down here in South Florida to hear from Steeler fans.
Ryan Mink.
Yeah, Alejandro, it's Ryan Mink from Ravens Media. Welcome to the team. Just wanted to ask you about how tough a transition do you feel like it will be going from left tackle to right tackle for you?
I think the transition is going to be more into the playbook of the Ravens than it is going to be from left tackle to right tackle, because so many of the plays are so different. As you probably know, in Pittsburgh, we threw the ball a lot from a 2-point stand. We had the vertical set. We're trying to sort all the blitzers that would come in from Baltimore and different formations and whatnot. So this playbook is a lot more of what I used to do in college, which is, it doesn't matter if you put your left hand down, you're probably going to be far enough the ball, get good angles, and so for me, that's the transition that I want to get back into. The left or right tackle is not as important, because we're not going to be hopefully throwing the ball 800 times this season.
Jeff.
Alejandro, this is Jeff Zrebeck from The Athletic. All that being said, Jameson's question about going from the Steelers to the Ravens, was it a little weird being in the Ravens facility a couple of weeks ago? And how was the visit? And did you kind of think when you visited, this could be the result of that?
Well, I think for me, the free agency process was somewhat of a mystery, because I've never been a free agent like this before. After playing in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh has always been a class act organization, and they let me know that I was not coming back to the team very shortly after the season. So from there, I'm an undrafted player. I've always had that title attached to my name, and that title attached to your journey. It's interesting how, in the NFL you get these labels of who you are, whether you're a first rounder or top 10. I'm sure college players, always talk about the SEC as the division that all the good players go to. And so for me, being from a small school, undrafted, I've always had the urge to try to get into NFL teams. And obviously if it's a good team like the Ravens, a great organization that has been respected across the NFL, and especially from the Steelers building, it wasn't really a tough decision. The meeting was phenomenal. I love Coach D'Alessandro. It reminds me a lot of Coach Munchak, the coach that coaches principals and coaches the minds of the players. So it's something that I obviously look forward to getting into. And everybody from top to bottom was pretty awesome and as expected and as advertised.
Jerry.
Alejandro, just going back to the whole Steelers Ravens, it's the biggest rivalry in the NFL, as you're well aware. You talked about how the Steelers inform you. Do you feel like in any way they gave up on you? I mean, you're a guy who started every game the last 5 years over at left tackle and gave them all you could, and they let you go and you end up to their divisional rival.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that everybody makes business decisions. The Steelers have to make their decisions, And then obviously myself or my agent, has to inform me of what my options are in the future. So I'm not sure. You have to ask the Steelers and the front office. But I'm sure that, there were many factors, involving, I'm sure, salary cap, the direction the team was going to and whatnot. And for me, the options were not plenty. And so the fact that I knew the Ravens as a team, that a team that plays hard, a team that plays AFC North type football, and to get a chance to play the Steelers as well, was something that motivated me to come here for sure.
Pete Gilbert.
Hey, Alejandro, welcome to Baltimore. Pete Gilbert, WBAL TV. And, I'm curious, when you went back to 2014 and you had to actually pay $245 to go to a combine to get to this point now, when you were going through that process 7 years ago, where did it get, and you didn't play football for 4 years, where did you get the internal belief to think, you could make this happen and get to this point? And did you really think back then this could be where you could get to?
Well, that's a very good question, and a question that deserves a very long answer. But, long story short, in 2014 was when the United States announced the drawdown from troops in Afghanistan. And so at that moment, I knew that in my career as an officer, I would probably not deploy to combat ever again. Additionally, the military went through a BRAC movement where they removed a division, a brigade from each division. So there was a surplus of officers and not a lot of chances to command, which was, what I was interested in doing. Had it been, a war that would have always lasted, or another conflict, I would have never probably gotten out of the military. But as many officers know, especially now, if you don't really have that goal in front of you of saying, I'm going to go accomplish this mission, I'm going to do this with my man, and it involves, I hate to say this, but some sort of maybe recognition of saying, this is the career path that I have to take as an officer. It becomes very, very tough. And so for me, I wanted to go to business school. I had to make the transition into the civilian world, which is a very, very difficult transition. It's finding a new identity. It's finding who you are. It's finding your passions and your purpose, which is not easy to do when you're 24 years old and everything that you've known has always been the military. And for me, I wanted to get educated. I thought education will be the path forward. But because of the Yellow Ribbon program and because of the West Point, I couldn't pay for business school out of pocket. And so I thought that if I played 1 year in the NFL, even if I just fooled, some of the coaches who are infatuated with the military, and I was able to play for 1 year, that I'll be able to play for, I'll be able to pay for business school. And so when the opportunity, came up with Pittsburgh, and I found out that, my goal in Pittsburgh was just to play 1 year, get out, and then go to business school, one of the top programs, and then, move on with my life. But the luxury that I had in Pittsburgh was the Carnegie Mellon was right there, and so I was able to do both, and that was my plan. The transition to get out of the military is incredibly difficult. Very tough for young men who love their identity to be attached to masculine sort of things like war stories, battle stories, and belonging to a group. And so when you have to find a way forward, it's not like I had a lot of options. And so the NFL was kind of like American Idol. And if I, can release one hit song, then I can pay for business school, and then I can maybe find something in business school that's gonna give me a new identity.
I don't know how you follow up an answer like that, but we'll give Bobby Trossett a shot at the question.
I'll try my best. Alejandro, Bobby Trossett from WBAL. Good to meet you virtually.
Very nice to meet you, Bobby.
Along those same lines, when you were making that transition, or maybe now that you look back on that transition, have you found yourself to maybe have rediscovered your love and appreciation for the game of football and really just life in general as well as a civilian?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this goes along with another concept and theme in my life, and that is that football has given me absolutely everything. I came to the United States by myself when I was 17 years old. I happened to be born in the United States by by accident, and it is a very deceiving miracle that I can speak English so well and not have an accent. But when I came to the United States and I went to West Point, football was a way in for me. It was a way in for me to learn the culture. It was a way in for me to understand the different dynamics, how individualism plays such a huge part in American culture. I was shocked that there were so many individual awards for a team sport. You know, that for somebody who comes from Europe is somewhat odd. And football was always something that gave to me. And you know, I think one of the biggest themes, you know, for a lot of athletes is just how much football has given to you when you look back and you see, you know, how much it's changed and transformed your life. And for me, it's, you know, it's never been any different. Football has given me incredible amounts of opportunity, not just, you know, to get into this country and to understand how everything works, but also in terms of leadership and in terms of getting to know people from all over the United States, from different socioeconomic backgrounds. There's not that many places in life where you see that. And so I've always been very thankful of the game of football. I've always tried to play with a passion, and I've always tried to play it, not taking it for granted. I've learned, you know, basically everything ever since I got here in 2006 through the game of football. And so rediscovering the passion has never been something that I've had to go through. It's always been very clear to me that this game that only gets played, you know, for the majority in the United States, has given me a path through fully, you know, feeling American.
Jonas?
Hey, Alejandro, congratulations on the deal. Could you just talk about, I guess, how you expect maybe the game to change for a tackle like yourself, going from Pittsburgh, where it was 50, 55 dropbacks a game, to Baltimore, where it might only be 20, 25?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't taken a single snap as a Raven yet, so it's hard for me to tell you. But I do know that, you know, obviously when I was in college, we ran the ball, you know, most of the game, and I always felt like running the ball was my forte, and that if I ever were to play in the NFL, it would be very difficult for me as a tackle because I would not know how to pass protection. Pass protection was something completely foreign to me, and so I tried out as a defensive end, as a tight end. You know, with time, I was able to learn and understand the process of becoming a student of the game and finding out everything that you can about the opponent, about tendencies, about technique, footwork, and see what works for you. And so for me, you know, I expect the same process, the tough, you know, pains at the beginning of getting new stands, developing new muscle groups, seeing the game from different eyes, and hopefully with the help of coaches and teammates, to be able to get comfortable in the offense and you know, play the game of football like it's supposed to be played.
Viv?
Hey, Alejandro, Mark Viviano from CBS in Baltimore. Welcome to town.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Yeah, you got an amazing perspective on life. Thanks for sharing that. Just want to ask you, kind of along what you were just talking about, Lamar Jackson in particular. You've watched him from the sidelines and in highlights. Your thoughts about what you see in him as you will be a guy who will be up front?
I think there are certain players in the NFL that truly inspire you to get the best out of you because you see how rare the talent is. You know, I felt that when I was playing with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell would make some plays, will drop that football, and you always felt energized as an offensive lineman to continue to give your best for that player. I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's minds that when you see Lamar Jackson play, you want to do everything for him, protect him, and continue to see the magic that he displays on the field because not only makes the game of football incredibly fun for the fans and for everybody out there, but it also wins you a lot of football games, and that's something that the franchise obviously has to value and protect.
Aditi?
Al, we're talking about going from so much pass blocking to run blocking. How about psychologically? You're going from the team that ran less than all but one team in the NFL to the team that runs the ball more. What is the mindset of an offensive lineman when he gets to push forward? And number two, I've been asked to ask you, who will you carpool with next year?
Both good questions. I think the mindset, when you know that you're with a team that runs the ball well, it involves every single room in the offense. Everybody is in unison, and it's a lot of timing involved with running the ball. If you get the timing right, if you get the nice tracks, on everybody, then usually you can get to run the ball. And for an offensive lineman, it's very easy because it's not, you don't have a lot of angst when the team is running the ball well. When you have to pass the ball, especially like we had to do last year, it involves an incredible amount of pressure because the pass rushers can get on a rhythm. So you're going to start going against a player like, I don't know, let's think, Myles Garrett, and he's going to get, 10, 15 passes in a row to set up moves, to be able to attack every single angle of your body, try different moves. He has 50 to 60 snaps to try everything that he wants to do on you. So it becomes very stressful. But at the same time, whether you're running the ball, whether you're passing the ball, as an offensive lineman, you have to be selfless. You have to, avoid complaining at all costs, because that's in your nature, and it can bring the morale down. And try to make a challenge out of it. So for us as an offensive line in Pittsburgh last year, it was incredibly challenging that we knew we had to go with these game plans that involved passing the ball potentially the entire game, and not really practice or rehearse that other part of football that relieves some of that angst. And so the mentality, when you have a balanced offense or when you run the ball, it's obviously better for the offensive line. I'm assuming it's not as fun for the wide receivers, because they're not getting all the catches, they're making the TikToks, and they're having fun on their social media. But for an offensive line, it's definitely an awesome experience to be able to find angles to the hips of the defensive lineman, to be able to use your hands and be aggressive, take more risk on your blocks, be able to work obviously in tandem with the players to your left and right, instead of being on an island, blocking and just hoping that, if the ball doesn't get, out of the hands quickly, that it's going to be a catastrophe. So, and then as for the commute, it's going to be very different. Obviously I commuted with David DeCastro for many years, and I think Kevin Zeitler is going to be an upgrade from that.
All right, Kirk.
Hey, Al, welcome to town. It's Kirk McEwen from 98 Rock, the flagship station of the Ravens. I'm just wondering, was it a consideration for you to play a little left tackle, knowing that Ronnie Stanley has been injured and you excelled at left tackle? And I know that Eric and John really covet guys that can do a couple things. So was that discussed in the talks?
No, I mean, I'm assuming that if Eric knows that I can, that if I'm willing to play right, that I can, I can play left if need be. So, in my situation, I don't know what Coach Alejandro has planned for me. It'll be his decision, him and Greg Roman, I'm assuming. And so I'm just an able body. If they want me to line up at wide out and catch some balls and take away targets from Andrews, then I'll do that as well, obviously.
All right, we have time for two more. We'll do Sean and then Gustavo.
Hey, Alejandro, Sean Stepner, WMAR, the ABC affiliate in Baltimore. Welcome to town.
Thanks, Sean.
So I was just going to ask about your thoughts on this kind of semi-revamped offensive line for the Ravens, yourself and Stanley and Bozeman and Zeitler. I mean, your thoughts on, your new teammates on the line.
Well, I haven't met him in person, and we haven't had a day's. This just happened, 24 hours ago. The offensive line for the Ravens, the way that they're coached, and the attitude that they have has been something that has been respected in the AFC North ever since I've been playing in the NFL. I know that Coach Munchak had a lot of admiration for the way that they ran zone schemes, and so, if anything, I feel a bigger responsibility to make sure that what you're saying, this new revamped defensive line is something that can come to fruition.
Gustavo.
Hey, Alejandro, gusto. Yo soy Gustavo Salazar de los Ravens en Español. I'm Gustavo Salazar from Ravens Spanish Radio. And we were kind of wondering, how do you compare the Ravens-Steelers rivalry to the one between Real Madrid and Barcelona? And I was wondering if maybe you could answer this like in English and Spanish.
Si los Ravens y los Steelers es la misma rivalidad que tiene el Real Madrid y el Barcelona, espero que no sea Luis Figo en este movimiento que estoy haciendo. Espero que haya diferencias significantes. Y bueno, yo diría que el Real Madrid y el Barcelona tienen, desde mi punto de vista, tienen bastantes implicaciones políticas. Sobre todo, sí, la política está muy entrelazada en el deporte en España. Algo que a lo mejor puede estar pasando un poco en el fútbol americano aquí. Pero el Madrid siempre ha sido el equipo, pues, el equipo un poco nacional, y el Barcelona ha sido, pues por temas políticos siempre ha sido el Barcelona. Entonces, no creo que la rivalidad entre los Steelers y los Ravens se pueda comparar hasta ese nivel. Creo que es un poco más a nivel de juego. Pero sí es verdad que, bueno, que la intensidad puede ser la misma durante los partidos.
Y una cosita más, ¿quién gana hoy? ¿Gana el Madrid contra el Chelsea?
No, no he visto el partido. Ahora mismo no estoy siguiendo mucho fútbol. Estoy aquí en Miami,
Okay.
estoy completamente desconectado.
Estamos bien.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. I'm not transcribing that last answer, but we appreciate your time, Alejandro. The media corps, we appreciate your guys' time, and we will be in contact with you with the next availability. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hey,
guys.
thanks. I'll send you a translation